The snow gets a bit deep here in Buxton. Not that we're bothered, though. Hey, Snowy? Snowy!
Seven Seas proudly sponsors the ITV National Weather.
Hello again, a very good evening to you. Well, we're expecting a little more snowfall both overnight and into the weekend. A number of amber warnings remain in place for much of the west, and the snow really quite widespread overnight, but much of it light and patchy. Showery outbreaks of rain and sleet into the southwest, and generally with temperatures below freezing turning icy and slippy come tomorrow morning. As for tomorrow, not too much change. Widespread snow on and off throughout the day, but much of it light and intermittent. And again, we'll keep some showery outbreaks of rain and sleet into the southwest. Temperatures barely above freezing point if at all, so feeling terribly cold, and there will be a marked wind chill if you factor in this biting easterly wind, feeling even colder throughout the day. Have a good night.
Seven Seas proudly sponsors the ITV National Weather.
Good evening. Wales ground to a halt today as heavy snow caused disruption across the country. The blizzards hit in the early hours. They left thousands without power and some stranded in their homes on a day where Wales faced a whiteout. With more, here's our correspondent Carl Edwards.
They said it was coming, they weren't wrong. A white wake-up for Wales this morning, but in some areas the warning was red. Many took the advice to stay at home. Others made the decision to drive, a decision some would regret. This not a country lane, but the A48 in the Vale of Glamorgan. The M4 was slow going too and treacherous when drivers tried to overtake. And for those who did stay indoors, the snow still made its mark. Around 5,000 homes lost electricity. On this estate in Pencoed, the kids are having a great time. Not so good for their parents, though. They lost power here in the early hours of this morning. And for many households, no electricity, of course, means no heat. Pembrokeshire and Carmarthenshire were also badly hit. In Whitland, people gathered in the local pub.
We deployed additional crews from Brecon and Cardiff. We'll be looking to use a helicopter to move crews down there, subject to these weather conditions. But we're optimistic we can get the vast majority of people back on supply by early evening. 1,200
schools closed, but our hospitals had to stay open. Health boards cancelled routine outpatient clinics, but urgent operations went ahead. Here at the Royal Glamorgan, the porters weren't pushing trolleys, but driving 4x4s to collect nurses and doctors from home.
Patients are very understanding and we have given a commitment that anybody that has been cancelled, that we will reinstate their treatment as quickly as we possibly can next week.
The forecasters warned snow would fall and disruption would follow. Across Wales today, we've seen dangerous conditions, plenty of inconvenience, but also a lot of grit and a lot of determination. Carl Edwards, ITV News.
2 people have been arrested following the disappearance of a man from Newbridge. Kyle Vaughan, who's 24, was last seen on December the 30th. A 24-year-old man from the Blackwood area was arrested on suspicion of murder, and a 22-year-old woman from Newbridge on suspicion of perverting the course of justice. A man who drove up Snowdon in his 4x4 twice was jailed this afternoon. 40-year-old Craig Williams from Cheltenham was found guilty of 2 counts of dangerous driving. He was jailed for 22 months following a 3-day trial at Carnarvon Crown Court. Babies needing long-term intensive care will no longer be treated in North Wales, but transferred over the border to the Wirral. The Betsy Cadwallader Health Board says the service must move because it simply isn't safe. The changes will also see some community hospitals close and more focus on community care. The manager of the Gleision Colliery, where 4 miners died, has been charged with gross negligence manslaughter. The 4 men were killed whilst working at the mine in September 2011. The company which owns the colliery has also been summoned to answer 4 counts of corporate manslaughter. Our correspondent Richard Morgan reports.
David Powell, Gary Jenkins, Charles Breslin and Philip Hill all lost their lives when the mine they were working in was flooded with water at Gleision Colliery in the Swansea Valley. Today, the man who ran the mine at the time of the accident was charged with their manslaughter.
The mine manager, Malcolm Fifield, has today been charged with 4 counts of gross negligence manslaughter. In addition, a prosecution for 4 counts of corporate manslaughter against the owners of the mine, M&S Mining Limited, is proceeding.
People from across the world watched as the tragedy unfolded in September 2011. A massive rescue operation was launched, but although 3 men, including Malcolm Fifield, escaped, the 4 miners couldn't be saved. In the years since, the Swansea Valley Miners' Appeal has raised more than £1 million to support the men's families. It's hoped today's news will be an important step on the road to finding answers.
There are lots of unanswered questions. The truth will now come out in court, and that'll be at least some form of closure for the families.
Malcolm Fifield is currently on police bail. He, together with M&S Mining Limited, are due to appear at Neath Magistrates Court on February the 1st. Richard Morgan, ITV News in Neath.
Well, back to our top story tonight, and one of the areas hardest hit by today's snow was the South Wales valleys. People living at Clydach Vale in the Rhondda Valley saw as much as 8 inches fall. They were in the heart of the red zone, the area forecast to see the worst of the freezing conditions.
It's drifting.
You going to get to work today?
Don't think so.
It's roughly about 2 miles.
So, how long is it going to take to get there in this?
It's probably about an hour, but they're supposed to be sending transport.
You've been on that to work?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Did it help?
Yeah. It doesn't help coming up though.
Well, should she keep that sledge handy for a few days yet? James Wright can tell us with a weekend forecast.
Come rain or shine, smoke-free cars carry healthier kids. ITV Cymru Wales weather, sponsored by Welsh Government Fresh Start Wales.
Good evening. After a whiteout of a Friday, the wintry weather is going to continue. Icy cold weather, and we may well see a little more snow falling from the sky. There will be a few snow flurries around overnight, but it's really ice. That's the issue. Any snow that melted from earlier, likely to refreeze. Temperatures down to -4, but a lot colder out in the countryside. So do take care. Yellow warning in force through tomorrow, where it'll be a cold start to the day. Obviously, a few snow flurries here and there, which will continue into the afternoon, but hopefully some bright spells developing out around Cardigan Bay. A bitterly cold day, 1 to 3 degrees Celsius. Stay warm. Night-night.
ITV Cymru Wales weather, sponsored by Welsh Government Fresh Start Wales.
And that's how Wales looks this Friday evening. I'll be back tomorrow night just after 5:30. I hope you can join me then.